Very good morning to one and all. Myself Praveen Kumar Nelapati, and I am going to deal software engineering for this semester. To start with the definition, software engineering can be defined as a process of analyzing the requirements that are collected from the client and then designing, building, and then finally testing the software product that meets the requirements of the client. Once again, I repeat the definition. It is a systematic process of analyzing the requirements which are collected from the client and then designing according to the requirements, building according to the requirements, and finally testing the software product that needs to be developed according to the requirements of the client. So, this is what the basic definition of a software engineering. In general, every CS or IT student will believe that software engineer and software developer are alike, but only the techies will understand the key difference between software engineer and software developer. So let me tell you, software engineer is the professional who involves in hardware components and software components as well, which means, let me put it like this: software engineer are the professionals who applies the basic principles of software engineering in designing, building, and testing the software product. He is much more involved in hardware components as well as the software components, but whereas the software developers are those who focuses only on the programming code. They are not intended to focus on the hardware components of the system. So this is what the basic and the key difference between software engineer and the software developer. Now you people got the difference between software engineer and the software, right? Software engineer and the software developer. So in today's topic we are going to deal the evolving role of software, changing nature of software, and the software myths, right? So be with me. Introduction. So what is a software? Evolving role of software, changing nature of software, right? Next. So in general, what is the basic software? So as we have seen software engineering definition, but strictly speaking, what is a software? In it is saying that in the before 1970s, before 1970s, hardly not less than 1% of the people could have intelligently described what computer software meant. Of course, in today's scenario, that is in today's scenario, that is in 2020, so every tech student is capable of defining what exactly software is all about, right? But in the earlier 1960s, 1970s, hardly less than 1% of the people could define what exactly the software is. So in general ways, we can define software as, see, we can define software in many ways. So let me see. Software is instructions, software is data structures, and software is documents. What it is saying, software is instructions, software is data structures, and software is document. So what is software as instructions? So everything that we process to the system only with the instructions. So what all the instructions that are given to the system will be processed, and then the expected output will be generated on the screen. So this is what then we executed provide desired function and performance. So software can be defined as three components. One we can say as instructions, which is nothing but the computer programs that are provided by the programmer in order to deliver a desired function of the program. Next is software as data structures. You people know about data structures, right? Data is nothing but some sort of information, and the structure is nothing but how the data is organized. Whatever the data that is being provided to the system should be in an organized manner only. Apart from that, inorganized manner of data will not be considered. That enable programs to adequately store and multiple manipulate information. Data structures is what? This is used to store the information and to manipulate the information what is being already stored. Manipulated in the sense modification or else altering the information. Software. And the third is software is documents. So documents is nothing but that describe the operation and use of the programs, how the programs are designed and how the what are the different functionalities of the program that we have embedded in the program is nothing but documentation, right? Similarly, as I already told you, that software is a set of items or objects that form a configuration. When we combine all these things, like when we combine computer instructions, when we combine data structures, when we combine documents, then we can call it collectively as a software, right? So here we can see software is a collection of computer programs, procedures, rules, and associate with documentation and data. So strictly speaking, what is a software? It is a collection of all the things, three things. That is, what are the instructions that are passed to the system, and that instruction should be in an organized manner. That is, the data what we pass should be in a structured manner, and the operations of the program should be done, right? So this is what. So next thing. What are the next thing? So how the evolving role of software, how the existence of the software came into picture. So you see, software can be considered in a dual role, product and a vehicle for delivering a product. Software is a product delivering computing potentials, produces, manages, acquires, modifies, displays, and transmits. One second. Yeah, fancy. Evolving role of software. How the software has come into picture. How the evolution of software took place, right? So in this we can see some of the definitions in popular book published. So Austrian characteristics in new industrial revolution. So these are the differences. These are the different softwares. How the main software has evolved, right? Next one. Move on to the next slide. So changing the nature of software. The few categories of computer software present the challenges. System software. So what is system software? System software is a collection of programs written to service other programs. So system software is nothing but, so these are the programs which are offered to do service to the others. These are the programs which are meant for doing service to the other programs. Example, compilers, editors, file management, operating system components, drivers, telecommunications, processors, process largely intermediate data. You know what a compiler is? Compiler is the one who compiles the instructions. Until and unless we don't have compiler in your system, the instructions what we process to the system will not be compiled, and we may not get the required output. So that is comes under system software. And the application software consists of standalone programs that solve a specific business need. Standalone programs in the sense whatever they, so these are not asked in particular by the client. So everyone used to develop a software, and that product will be used by anyone. So these are not particularly with reference to the clients. These are all application software. And you see, yes, application software. Application software consists of standalone programs that solve a specific business needs. Example, point on sales, transaction processing, billing system in shopping malls. So these are all based on application software, and different kinds of examples are billing system in shopping malls, etc. And the third is engineering and scientific software. This is the software using different algorithms for different science application. Example, system simulation, computer aided designing. So these are the three different categories of computer software. One is system software, second one is application software, and the third is engineering and specific software. Next slide. And the next is embedded software. Embedded software resides in a read-only memory and is used to control products and systems for the consumer and industrial markets. It has very limited and mysterious functional and control capability. So web-based applications like HTML, JavaScript, Perl, etc. For example, if we go with the Facebook, which is a software which is something like PHP, using PHP language, right? Artificial intelligence, pattern recognition, games, etc. So these are all the artificial intelligence applications where human intervention is not required. Where human intervention is not required. So what is myths? We'll see. So what is myths? Myths are the stories told by people about people, where they come from, how they handle major disaster, how they cope up with what they must, and how everything will end. If that isn't everything, what else is there? Or myth is a strong belief which is not true. Myth is a strong belief which is not true. Today, most so we got to define software myths are of three types. One is management myths, second is customer myths, and the third is practitioner myths. We'll see in detail about these things. Management myths. So manager with software responsibilities like managers in most disciplines are often under pressure to maintain budgets, keep schedules from slipping, and improve quality. You know what the delivery manager in every software industry we used to have a delivery manager and the project manager. So what are the main basic roles and responsibilities of these managers is to see that the software what is going to be developed should be economically feasible, and what is the software that is going to be operational feasible, and what is it going to be should be legally feasible. So he used to maintain budgets, keep schedules. So keep schedules and improve the quality. So maintaining all these things are very difficult task for the manager. But definitely he has to do all these things in order to the development of the software product. Right? Myth. First is we already have a book that's full of standards and procedures for building. So generally say myth one, we already have a book that's full of standards and procedures for building a software. So if we go with the general scenario is we are having a book like how to develop a software and what are the principles that are involved in developing a software. And so what we think is that book no is enough to build a software or not? That provide my people with everything they need to know. That book is enough to develop a software or not. But the reality is, the book of standards may very well exist, but is it used? Are software practitioners of its existence? Does it reflect modern software engineering practice? Is it complete? Is it streamlined to improve time to delivery while still maintaining a focus on quality? In many cases, the answer to all of these questions is no. So, for example, a reality is Mithwan is telling, Mithwan he says that so if we are having different kinds of books for development of the software, does the principles what are included in this book is enough to build a software? But the thing is, but the reality is, books of standards may does not exist. The things what are included in the books will never help you. Does it reflect modern software engineering practice? The practices are different from the books, from the standards of books which are involved in the book. Is it complete? Definitely it is not complete. Is it streamlined to improve time to same to time to delivery while still maintaining a focus on quality? In many cases, not in many cases, in most of the cases, the answer would be no for this case. This is what management myths is all about. Myth 2. If we get behind schedule, we can add more programmers and catch up, sometimes called the Monrogian hard concept. If we get behind schedule. So, for example, if the deadline is approaching and we are still about to complete too many modules, so definitely we need to hire some more programmers and get it done within the stipulated time. But the reality is software development is not a mechanistic process like manufacturing. In the words of at first, the statement may seem counterintuitive. However, as new people are added, people who are working must spend time educating the newcomers, thereby reducing the amount of time spent on productive development effort. People can be added, but only in a planned and well coordinated manner. Again the thing, if this happens, definitely the existing faculty, the existing software developers has to train the new software engineers, has to train the new software developers. People can be added, of course people can be added, but that too in a planned and well coordinated manner. And the metric, if I decide to outsource if I decide to outsource three the software project to a third party, I can just relax and let that firm build it. The three is, if I decide to outsource three the software project to a third party, I can just relax and let that firm build it. If an, the But the reality is different. If an organization does not understand how to manage and control software projects internally, it will invariably struggle when it outsources software project, right? When the thing is, see here thing is, when the software projects are not controlled internally or else not controlled managed internally, it will definitely struggle with the outsources, right? Next, customer myths. So customer myths may be defined as follows: an outside company that has requested software under contract. The second is a person next to your desk, a technical group, a marketing or sales group. So, yeah, customer myths lead to false expectations and ultimately dissatisfaction with the developer. Customer meets with the dissatisfaction. Myth one: a general statement of objectives is sufficient to begin writing programs. We can fill in the details later. A poor upfront donation definition is the major cause of failed software errors. A formal and detailed description of the information domain, function, behavior, performance, interfaces, design constraints, and validation criteria is essential. These characteristics can be determined only after thorough communication between the customer and the developer. A general statement of objectives is sufficient to begin writing programs. The myth is, see, the general statement. So we have defined the problem, and accordingly the developers will act. But until and unless if there is a good communication between the customer and the developer, the developed software would be of mere waste. Would be of mere waste, right? See, this is one. And the myth two is project requirements continually change, but change can be easily accommodated because software is flexible. So the general perspective is what the customer thinks is project requirements continuously changes, and the software that is about to develop with these new changes is also that easy. Why? Because the software which is going to develop is flexible to the changes. But the reality is, of course, it is true that software requirements change, but the impact of change varies with the time varies with the time at which it is introduced, varies with time at which it is introduced. For example, if the new change has come in the beginning, it won't affect or else it won't show any impact on the software that is being developed. Almost the project is about to end, and if the changes are newly introduced, then obviously it will show the impact on the developed software. The customer can review requirements and recommend modifications with relatively little impact on cost. When changes are requested during software design, the cost impact grows rapidly. Resources have been committed and a design framework has been established. See, for example, if the customer has to refine the changes, he can go with the refinement of the requirements only with the first stage, that is whether in BRZ or else he can do, or else in analysis phase, or else in the feasibility study you can go with the changes. But once the product development is in the designing phase, once the project development is in the designing phase, obviously the impact will be very high. Why? Because already the design was given and the designers will cost a lot for implementing new more changes in the project, right? So that is why he's saying when changes are requested during software design, the cost impact grows rapidly. Sources have been committed. I mean, the sources have been committed. The sources in the sense the programmers have been committed and a design framework has been established. Already they have come up with the design and the resources are working out on it. So which is not quite easy. Change when requested after software is in production can be over an order of magnitude more expensive than the same change requested earlier. As I already told you that whatever the changes that needs to be refined should be done at an earlier stage. Once the software product is in the production stage, whatever the changes, even if it is a small change also, it may cost you more. If even if it is a simple change also, it is very expensive, very expensive. Next, practitioner mix. A practitioner may be planning group, development group, verification group, support group, or else marketing or sales. Mithun. Once we write program and get it work, our job is done. So what the general programmer will do is he'll just write a program and give it to the testing team. So then he will think that my job is over. But the reality is until and unless the software product is out and it is managed and it is upgraded, so our job is not complete. Why? Because since after testing also more number of changes, or else more number of enhancements are done. So that is why it is saying that someone once said that the sooner you begin writing code, the longer it will take you to get done. Industry data indicate that between 60 to 80% of all effort expended on software will be expended after it is delivered to the customer for the first time. That which means to say the product is developed and delivered to the customer. But the thing is, only after delivering the product to the customer, at around 60 to 80% of the changes will comes from the customer. So definitely not. Don't think that once we write the code and our job is over. Right. Even after the several tests are done on the software code, you people has to refine the changes, has to collectively do the work. And the next is, until I get the program running, I have no way of assessing its quality. So once the program is in running state, I have no way of assessing the code. But the reality is, one of the most effective software quality assurance mechanism is can be applied from the inception of a project. The formal technical reviews, software reviews, are a quality filter that have been found to be more effective than testing for finding certain classes of software defects. So everything, whatever the modules or whatever the tasks that are given by the software programmer has to be tested thoroughly. Has to be tested thoroughly. So this is what a practitioner myth is all about. And then, and the third myth, the only deliverable work product for a successful project is the working program. The only, but the reality is a working program is only one part of software configuration that includes many documentation provides a foundation. As I already told you, every software that is being developed is composed of three components. One is data instructions, that is computer instructions what we pass to the system in order to generate a fruitful output. The second is the data structures, and the third is the documentation of all the above two things, right? Myth 4. So myth 4 is something like software engineering will make us create voluminous and unnecessary documentation and will invariably slow down us. But thing is, software engineering is not about creating documents. It is not about creating documents. It is about creating quality. It is about creating quality. Better quality leads to reduced rework, and reduced rework results in fast delivery times. So what it is saying that software engineering will make us create voluminous and unnecessary documentation. What will think is unnecessary documentation is going on with this software. But the thing is, software engineering is not concerned with creating documents. Is concerned with the it is concerned with the quality. It is concerned with the quality. When we are having a good quality in the software, so rework is not done and redocumentation is not required for that software. So this is what a basic a basic introduction about the software engineering, and what are the different evaluation of the software, and what is software, and the evolving role of software, changing nature of software, and the software myths. So hope you guys understand, and please do let me know if you're having any doubts over this, right? Thank you.